Grade 7, this is a review of section 1.2 when we're taking a look at factors and multiples. So a couple key terms we'll be looking at are prime numbers, composite numbers, and common factors. So just to review, a factor is a number that divides exactly into another number. So for example, 1, 2, and 5, and 10 are all factors of the number 10. And each number divides into 10 with no remainders. So if I have 10, can break it up into 2 and to 5. Now all factors, or all numbers, have at least two factors, 1 and itself, okay? Which we're going to get back to a little bit later. Sometimes you may have seen this back in the day, a factor rainbow. So if you're trying to think of all of the factors of the number 20, all you do is you write down, all of your numbers that multiply with other numbers to give you 20. So for example, 1 times 20 would give you 20. 2 times 10 would give you 20. 4 times 5 would give you 20. So these are all factors of 20. So you can try and go ahead right now, number 8, number 12, and 15. Try and find the list of the factors. You can pause the video now to do so, and you can double check tomorrow or later with another student. Okay. A prime number only has two factors, which is what I had mentioned earlier, 1 and itself. So for example, the number 2 can only be broken up into 1 times 2. The number 3 can only be broken up into 1 times 3 in terms of whole numbers. I mean, we all know we can divide them into decimals and factors, but we're really looking at whole numbers. So a prime number is when you only have 1 and itself as a factor. So take a look and let's think. What are the next 5 prime numbers after 5? Okay, 5 is a prime number. But after 5, try and come up with the next 5. You should pause the video right now, and then I'll reveal the answers. Okay, so if we take a look at this, should be 7, 11, 13, 17, and 19. All these numbers have just 1 and itself as their own factors, and therefore they are prime numbers. One way to think about it is school ends at Adrian Clarkson at 2:35, and after that you want to go get a sugary drink at 7-Eleven. Okay, so what we're going to do right now is we're going to take a look at a few different facts. A composite number, which is not a prime number, has more than two factors. So for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 12, they're all factors of the composite 12. So 12 is a composite number. 1 only has one factor, therefore it is neither a prime nor a composite number. Okay? It is definitely not a prime and definitely not a composite number. And finally, factors that are the same for two numbers are called common factors. Okay, so we're going to need that for later. And the opposite of the factor is a multiple. You might hear me in class say, raise the roof when you hear multiples and break it down when you hear factors. And all we're doing is we're taking a look at basically when we are asked to find the multiples of a number, we're multiplying it by 1, then by 2, then by 3, then by 4. So for example, multiples of 3 would be 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, etc. And you could keep going. And if I'm ever asked to find what a common multiple is, I can just create lists of numbers. So for example, if I had to say what are the common multiples of 4 and 6, I would come up with all of my multiples of number 4, and then all of the multiples of 6, and I would just circle which ones are in common. So in this case, 12, 24. In fact, any multiple of 12 will give me, will be both common multiples of 4 and 6. I think that's right. That should be right. So if I'm ever asked to find, find the first 4 multiples of 6, 9, and 12, I could take a look at a hundreds chart, and I could list down what my first 4 multiples would be. This example is actually showing what the lowest common multiple is for 12 and 5. So if you take a look over here, anything in the pink are multiples of 5. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, etc. And over here in the purple, 12, 24, 36, 48. As you can see, they're both 60. So 60 would be my lowest common multiple. Here's another example, but this time I'm looking for common factors. So if I take a look at common factors of 24 and 30, sometimes they'll actually ask what the greatest common factor is, or you might see this labeled as GCF, okay? And if you do it, you're able to do a Venn diagram, or you can break it up into a tree, or you can even use a hundreds chart or tens chart to really show what the ones are in common. So for example, 1, 2, 3, and 6, they're all in common, and so the greatest one would be 6. You could try this out right now for factors of 28 and 35. Just pause the video, and we're going to move on. Oh, you're going to have a quiz probably after this lesson. So I hope this helped recap what a few of the key terms were. Just remember that you need to know what multiples are, you need to know what prime factors are, what factors are, and how we find the lowest common multiples and greatest common factors. All right.